All right, folks, it is Monday night. It is time for a live Q&A. As always, every week we are here to answer your questions about drones and anything else that you may have. So put them in the comments. I see there's a lot of people already in the chat. So put your question. Jason is in the back room, kind of filtering through all the questions, and then I get them right here on my little listing. You notice we have a slightly different background today. Actually, it looks a little bit different, but maybe not all that much because we still have the lava lamp back here. We started packing. We started packing the office. We are down to 2 sets now. We have the green screen, which is right behind this camera, and this set, as we get ready for the big move, which should happen by the end of the year. We have to vacate this place pretty soon, so we wanted to make sure it was all cleaned up. So on Friday, Black Friday, we a bunch of people from the team came over and we spent a day just tearing things apart, which was actually quite a bit of fun. A little bit sad to see we had an old green screen that we didn't use in a while. We took that down. We had a set actually behind this wall here that we also took down, and then set 7, as we call it here, which was the set where we do all the live. Yeah, you can see Ethan is showing you what the set looks like now, which is not much. So we're starting to clean up. We started moving a couple things over to the new place. We are building the new desk. The flooring is done. It looks gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous over there. And we're starting to, put things in place. So exciting, exciting, exciting. So in the next couple weeks, you will see us operating mostly from this set, which has several angles that we can use from, and then from the green screen as well. So, okay. Let's say hi to a bunch of folks. I see that there's already a lot of people in the chat. Thorold Inspired here. Pretty much every week, the first comment is from Thorold Inspired. So thanks for being here. Alexander is here. Thumb Drone, Hike and Fly, Ed Williams, Curtis Warren, Ronald Richard Hooker, Don Fulmer, 1CFS Video. Wow, don't think I've seen that name before, from Puerto Rico. Welcome, welcome. Nova Drone Footage, Jillian, our own Jillian B from the community. We have Tim, James Andrews, Northern Drone Guy, John Jackson, On Your Business, also here quite a bit. So is John. Stella De Villa, Tim Voice, I said that already. Kenneth Noisewater is here, Old Deadeye. Travis Cheney, also a name I recognize, retired fire chief. Get a lot of questions from him as well. We have James Cox, David Otterstrom, sorry, Rick's Eye View. Who else? Avion, Lens Air, Angry Badger Minis. I think we saw that name last week. Lynn Brown, My Project 101. Who else? Drone Service Provider Alliance here, our friend Vic, who's sleepy. Talked to him earlier. He said he woke up at 1 o'clock to go and record some footage, which good for him, but that's a little too early for me. My 6 o'clock wake up call is a lot better. Bem 1962. Anyway, Sparky is here. What's up, Sparky? Is Orange Julius going with you? Who's Orange Julius? No, I know. Oh, that one over there. I'm sorry. No, we're not taking that restaurant with us. We have much better options downtown now. Okay, cool. Well, let's get to the questions, I guess. Starting with Don. Don Fulmer says, do you know anything about the drones that are flying over here in New Jersey? People saying that they're as big as cars. Yeah. Well, so we reported on this maybe last week, the week before, drones flying over military bases. And we talked about this in Post-Flight, which is our extended news update where we do extended coverage. Interesting that these drones, one, have lights. They've been reported to have lights. So if you're trying to fly over a military base to maybe collect data, possibly, would you have lights on the drone? I don't know. The whole thing seems just very confusing to me, that we would have these large drones that are supposedly tens of feet wide almost as big as the airplane that we fly. And that would just be flying over military bases. So I don't know. I don't know. Nobody can make sense of who they are, where they're going. I don't know why we can't track drones that are that big on a radar and find out where they're landing, because I'm guessing that they're landing at one point. They said that they used a helicopter to follow them, and I guess they didn't get anywhere. So I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand why we are unable to find more information about those.
Post-flight 288, you guys talked about it.
Post-flight 288, we went over this. So if you're part of the premium community, you have access to post-flight. A little pitch for post-flight. We spend, Jason and I and Ben, we spend a little bit of time, like 15-20 minutes talking about the events of the week, but in more detail with a bit more opinion than we do during News Update. News Update is designed to be short, sweet, to the point, giving you the information. Post-flight is more in-depth. So if you're not part of Premium, you can go to community.pilotinstitute.com. We actually have a sale going on right now for Black Friday, which will be, or Cyber Monday, I guess we should say now, which will be ending pretty soon. So if you want to join the community, it's pretty cheap. You get tons of access to additional content. We have over 20 hours of content for $100 a year. So it's really a good deal right now. No reason not to do it, quite frankly. You get so much content for that. And we're still adding a lot of content. Next, we have John Jackson says, did you ever get your way over to fly high in a thunderstorm, or was it a snowstorm? We ran out of snow last year to do that. So we have a waiver to fly inside of a storm, and we wanted to fly inside of a snowstorm in order to get potentially propeller icing and have the airplane crash. Although we wouldn't crash because we would have a parachute on it, but we never got the right conditions to do it. So we'll try again this season. Hopefully we have the perfect conditions to do it. But yeah, and then as far as thunderstorm, we're still trying to get the waiver for that. It's a difficult one to get because, because we're trying to find inside of an active thunderstorm at a high altitude as well. So Jillian says, ran out of snow, road trip to my house. Yeah, we should have done it for your part of the country, Jillian. You get a lot more snow than we do. What can you take in when taking your Part 107, and what won't they let you bring in? Tim, basically take nothing. They'll give you a pen and a piece of paper, and that's really all you need. Technically, you can take an E6B or a CX3, but for the Part 107, you don't really need those tools. They won't really, even some places will not even let you take a magnifying glass, although it is not against FAA regulation. It's actually up to the proctor to decide whether or not to allow for a magnifying glass. Why they would not allow it is beyond me, but I reached out to the FAA and that's kind of what they said. So as far as anything else, some places won't even let you take a sweater with you. They want you like in a t-shirt. I've heard some kind of weird story. It's very non-standardized in a way, but PSI has a monopoly, so they can do whatever they want because that's the only provider the FAA has. Travis says, deer gun season started in Ohio. While flying my drone, should I wrap it up in neon orange if I'm flying for fun? I don't know. I mean, you can, but it might just make it more of a target. That's a tough one. If people shoot at drones, it's against the law, so they can get arrested for it. Yeah, that's a tough one. My Project 101 says, can I use a remote ID module even if I'm already downloaded firmware to my drone? I mean, there's no reason to add a module if your drone is already broadcasting, if that's what you're asking, because then you would have two different signals. I don't recommend it. So the answer would be probably no in this case. Yeah. Any information on the release of a DJI Air 4? I have not. Oh, Air 4? We just got the Air 3S. So no, I don't think there's an Air 4. A Mini 4 maybe potentially at one point, although I think it's going to be a while. Mavic 4, my guess, is what's going to come next before we see a Mini 5. A Mini 5, an Air 3S, a Mavic 4, and an, what did I say? Yeah, an Air 3S is what just came out, a Mavic 4, and then a Mini 5, potentially. DJI needs to just have the same numbering, and then that year is what they release. We're going to be in 2025, everything should be a 5. And in 2026, they can go with 6. It will make it a lot easier for us to remember. Bem 1962 says, what's your opinion on the Black Falcon 4K? I'm not familiar with that drone specifically, so unfortunately I can't tell you, but 12, 14-year-old to learn on, yeah, I don't know. I don't have enough information, unfortunately, to recommend it or not. Drone service provider Vic says, did you get the drone from behind the Cyclo? No, we haven't taken down the Cyclo yet. We still do a lot of recording on green screen. So the Cyclorama is our big wrapped screen where we can, which we turn green. It's now a green screen, but we lost a drone behind it when a tiny little whoop that we flew indoors. And no, we haven't found it yet, but that's going to be the last thing that we take apart. And it's gigantic. It's 10 foot tall by 14 feet by 14 feet by 10 foot tall. And it's got all the lights on top of it. There's a lot to take down when we're going to do that. So that's going to be fun. We'll probably do a time lapse, even though I can't believe we didn't even do a single time lapse on Friday of taking all this stuff down. It went so quickly that we just completely forgot. We get so excited. The next, Angry Badgers Mini says, first time here in 107 study students. Any news on the DJI drone ban? No real update on the drone ban at the moment. We're still waiting for the, for politicians to get together to decide what they want to do. The House was the ban was okayed on the side of the House. Now we're waiting for the Senate to decide what they want to do. So if you received your Part 107 on January 4th, 2022, and you did your biannual recurrent training on November 15, 2024, when is the next time it's due? It's due 24 calendar months from the time that you did the recurrent training. So that would be end of November 31st of 2026 is when you have to do the training again, Richard. William says, recently I saw a photographer post a picture in downtown Atlanta flying their drone over a building that is 657 feet tall. Is someone with a Part 107 allowed to fly over a high-rise building over 400 feet? So the answer is yes, as long as you have a Part 107, you are in an area that does not need airspace approval, in which case you could do that. I'm not familiar enough with downtown Atlanta to know if it's in controlled airspace or not. If it is in controlled airspace, then you are limited to whatever that grid number is above the ground, and that's it. You're not allowed to add another 400 feet on top of any building. Now, if you are in a uncontrolled area where it doesn't need airspace approval, then you can fly 400 feet above that tall building, as long as it doesn't take you into controlled airspace and as long as you still have visual line of sight. So it is possible with this that you would be able to fly up to 1,057 feet from the ground to be on top of that high rise, as long as, again, there's no airspace in there. Sky Curtain says, what's your biggest concern right now in terms of the DJI drone ban? I don't know. I don't know that there's necessarily a concern. I just would like to see what's going to happen with all the tariffs that Trump has been talking about. If he's going to be leaning towards doing a tariff-based approach or a ban approach, which is difficult to tell at this stage. Obviously, I would I hate to say it, but I would prefer a tariff approach because it doesn't ban anything, although I don't think that's the solution. That's the only thing that can throw a wrench into the whole thing. I do believe that whatever was proposed, the CCP, the drone CCP act is not going to pass. It has very little percentage of chance of passing right now based on a variety of websites that keep track of these bills. So we shall see. I'm a bit worried about a news that came out end of last week, which we haven't talked about yet, which is Trump Jr., his son, is on the board of a Orlando-based manufacturer of drones, which I had never heard of before. So how is this going to... And they have said that we need to get away from reliance on DJI drones, on Chinese drone. I don't want to be misquoting. So how is this going to affect decisions down the line? Because now there is money involved. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But as far as the bill that's currently in the Senate, I think we have a high chance of doing pretty well with that. Lynn Brown says, is it best to use separate remotes when flying where there's no cell service in case of needing care refresh? Let me think about that. Is it best to use separate remotes? I don't know that I understand the question. If there's no cell service, are you trying to find... I don't know that it would do anything to have... You can only, let's put it this way, you can only bind, for most aircraft, you can only bind one remote to the drone unless you have a drone that has the ability to have two of them. Some enterprise drones like the Matrice and the Inspire level drones have the ability to bind more than one controller to it. But so that's really, if your drone crashes, your best bet is to try to have sorry, I'm trying to think at the same time as I'm talking. The best way to do this, quite frankly, if you're afraid of crashing and you're not too far, the company that makes the Arc 5 light has a version that has a beeper. When that light is turned on, and if the drone is not moving, I don't remember the model number, but if the drone is not moving for a while, it starts to beep. And then you'll be able to find the drone if it's crashed nearby. That would be my recommendation. But no, I don't think having two controllers is a solution in this case. Lawrence says, good day to all. I keep receiving your ads for the Part 107 class. Good. I'm 92. Wow, that's awesome. 92 years young. And fly... just for fun and take a few pictures. Do you think the class is necessary? No, Lawrence, if you're only flying for fun and you just taking pictures for recreational purposes, you do not need the Part 107 exam. So save some money and then just go do it, fly for fun. Make sure that you take the Trust exam though. Trust is the recreational unmanned safety test that the FAA put together a couple of years ago. It is required if you fly for recreational purposes. The good thing is that it's free. So trust.pilotinstitute.com will get you there. It takes about 30 minutes. You get a little certificate at the end, and then you're good to go. So I would recommend at least doing that. Indy 125 says, Rec Flyer over 250 grams Mini 4 Pro. Can I fly on the sidewalk while people walking behind it, no higher than chest level, not flying over people, no cars, just on the sidewalk? I have prop guards. Yep. No issue whatsoever with that. Doesn't break any of the regulation. Grote Geitzek says, can police helicopters see my DJI Mini 3 Pro on their radar? No. Helicopters are not really equipped with anything that tells them where unmanned aircraft are located, because you are supposed to give them the right of way, and as a result, they don't see traffic. So make sure that you avoid them because they more than likely will not see you at all, even visually. So. What is the December photo contest theme? That is a good question, and I do not know the answer to that, but I'm sure Jillian says she's taking suggestions. So I don't think we have one picked just yet. We just announced the new winner, and we're going to be releasing the new photo contest. So if you have ideas, put them in the comments, and Julian will take notes and make it happen. The light I was talking about, Jason mentioned, is the Firehouse Arc XL. That's the larger version. I think it has 6 lights on it, and it's a bit larger, but it will beep if the drone is not moving for a while. Next up, Juan says, hello, I have registered the Spark with Remote ID on Part 107, but don't want to use any more of the Spark. Can I cancel the Spark registration in Part 107 and use the same Remote ID serial number in a newer drone? Yes, absolutely. That's a great question. So yes, you're right. If you have a drone registered on the Part 107, you can, and it has a Remote ID module, you can deregister that drone or cancel the registration for that drone and then use the Remote ID module on another drone. Absolutely. I understand that DJI does not sync the flight logs anymore. That's correct. But does that mean the drone will no longer save flight logs locally either to manually download after each flight? No, it still saves the logs locally, but it just doesn't sync them online. You can say thank you to all the anti-DJI folks for that. Lobbying organizations such as AUVSI and the others all created this big mess for the rest of us. Thank you. And that's being sarcastic. Zeno says, have there been any good lighter than air drones? Oh, lighter than air drones. Seems like it could be interesting for time-lapse and long mapping missions. So lighter than air, like a balloon or a Zep. We actually just looked at that maybe last week with Jason. They are very expensive. At least the ones that we were interested in to carry larger payloads were very expensive. I don't remember, maybe Jason will remember, I'll put it in the comments, the price range, but it was definitely not cheap. And yeah. So no, as far as I know, there might be some lighter ones, easier ones, smaller ones, that are available for cheaper, but none that I've found just yet. Now, also remember that lighter than air balloon, if it's an actual balloon, you don't really have a way to control it, just like a real balloon, other than going up and down. A Zeppelin would have some sort of a motor in the back to be able to control it, but you'd have to use that in very, very low wind. Very low wind. So, Old Farts with Drone says, please continue being sarcastic. That's my favorite hobby. And that's not sarcasm. Considering the language in many OOP, OOV waiver, operations over people, operations over vehicles, sub 400 grams, strobe lights, prop guard, are there any SUAS that are purported to be in the pipeline? It's annoying that no built-in remote ID on most possible models. I don't think that's true, Michelle. There is quite a few drones like the Air 3, Air 3S, Air 2S, all of those have built-in remote ID. Obviously the minis don't because they're a little too heavy. And then the Avata 2 has the ability to do that, not the one. So there's quite a few drones that will fall into that. None of the Mavic series, those are a little too heavy, but the Air series at the very least will do that. Yeah, Jason says the price range from $1,200 to $30,000 without any camera setup for those blimps that we saw. The reason we were looking at these is because we have, for a long time, as you may know, we've been doing comparative footage of drones in flight to compare the image quality. And instead of doing 2 flights, one after the other, and flying them manually, we usually put them under a drone and recording the footage. But we are perfectionists, and we've been getting micro vibrations on some of the footage that we've been getting. And so we've been trying to find a different solutions to do this. And yeah, so it's been painful. So we were looking at that. And I'd said something stupid because the airs are not sub 400 grams. So I apologize, Michelle. Going back to your question, the airs do not qualify for OOP sub 400 grams. I don't know why I said that. But the Avata 2 does, and then the minis, and you're right, the mini with the bigger battery, with the Mini 3 Pro and the Mini 4 Pro with the bigger battery would have remote ID. So yes, I apologize. Sometimes I say dumb stuff, just like politicians. All right, next. Stella says, do you know the barrier of entry into getting paid for maps using the Mini 2 and the free app Drone Made Easy? Do you recommend... I would not really sell any maps, any mapping services with a Mini 2. I would use it for practicing for sure to see what you get out of it. But if you're going to be charging, I would definitely recommend having something way more solid than a Mini 2 to do mapping. Yeah, Michelle says, DJI says no larger batteries with the prop guards. I mean, the solution really is to put a remote ID module on top of it. That's a fairly simple solution. It's not a big expense for being able to fly over people. That would be my recommendation. And yes, I agree with you that there's no true solution with built-in remote ID to do that. So, yep. It's a pain. John Kennedy says, I have a Part 107 and my Air 3S and Avata 2 is registered with the FAA. Okay. I'm looking to do jobs with them, but do I also have to get Lance approval when I decide to fly it recreationally and not for hire? Yes. If you fly in airspace that requires approval, you need to get Lance regardless of recreational or non-recreational. Teasley says, looking at the T50 to spray our personal farms, I have no drone experience. How long should I expect process to take before being able to spray my fields? A little bit of time, unfortunately. It's not really a turnkey solution. You need to have Part 107 at the very minimum, unless you have a Part 61 certificate, but you said you have no drone experience. So you need to have a 44807 exemption if you're going to be using your Part 107 certificate to fly drones over 55 pounds. And then more importantly, you're going to need a Part 137 approval in order to fly chemicals with the drone, to spray chemicals with the drone. So that's the process. That's a little bit lengthy, along with the 44807 exemption. It's 49 USC 44807. We do have an article on our website that kind of highlights all the details to do all of that. So maybe Jason in the back room can send you all that stuff. Evian says, for the 400 foot above a ceiling, isn't there a rule that you need to be standing within a certain distance from the building when you're flying above? It's 400 feet radius from the building. So you have to be within 400 feet of the building and no higher than 400 feet above the building. Michael says, do you think the drone flyovers US bases over in England going to affect the ban before Congress? Well, they haven't done technically. From what we've read, I don't know about the one in England, but from what we've seen, there's no restricted airspace over these bases that we have seen. So technically, they haven't really done anything wrong. Now, is that going to be used for propaganda by lobbying organizations when they testify? Yeah, absolutely. They are. They are going to be using every wrong thing that people have done. I wouldn't even be surprised if they said that these drones are DJI drones, just because, lying is just part of what they do. So yes, this will more than likely hurt us. So is the use of drones, I think, in Ukraine is going to be something that we'll see over and over again when people are trying to over-regulate this space as being a threat of, hey, look what happened over there, and this could potentially happen in the U.S. I'm not saying that the what's happening in Ukraine is not showing a use of drone that is concerning. It is certainly concerning to see what can be done with those. But yes, I think all of this will be used against us, no doubt. The DJI Hobby Guy says, are we going to get our money back if you have a ban for all of our drones? The proposed bans that we've seen so far, and those are just proposed bans, there is no bans at the moment, all would ban future drones, future models, not the ones that you currently have. So I wouldn't be worried about having a drone right now that you purchase. You should still be able to use that in the future without any problem. Eric says, waving from the Bahamas. That's awesome. I was in the Seychelles not that long ago in this afternoon here in my VR goggles while I was working on some PPL stuff virtually. Okay, from the Bahamas, I'm a photographer and I'm choosing between the Air 3S and the Mavic 3 Original. What are your views as to which may be better for photography? Good question. For photography, I mean, the Mavic 3 has technically a larger sensor. Even the original one has a 4/3 sensor versus the 1-inch on the Air 3S. So, although I have to say that so far what we've seen on the Air 3S, we have a review of the Air 3S coming out in the next couple of days. We did lengthy testing on the section on our camera chart, and it does really well. We have not compared it to the Mavic 3, but compared to the Air 3, it had pretty significant improvement, especially at higher ISO. But I don't think you can go wrong with either of those, quite frankly. It's all going to depend on the kind of deal that you can find on those drones. Maybe an older Mavic 3, a used Mavic 3 versus an Air 3S, you might be getting a good deal. I think the battery time is a little bit better on the Mavic 3. And the Air 3S, the big advantage is it has the 3x lens, which I think is better than the 5x. So I would probably go on the Air 3S side personally, but that's just a personal thing. Angry Badger says, while I know we are responsible for staying 400 feet AGL in mountains like where I live, adjusting for the contour, correct? Do trees count as a structure? No, trees do not count. Man-made structures only. So, nope, it does not count. How many certification classes are there for drones? Technically only one, which is Part 107. That's the only thing that the FAA requires in order to operate for non-recreational purposes. As far as mapping, there's no official certification. Obviously, it's better to be educated on doing all of this. Thermography, although there is a level 1, 2, and 3 thermography certification, which is based on ASTM standards, there's no real requirement to have it. It looks better to your clients if you have that, but it's not a requirement. So, but yeah, no, there's only one real certification, which is Part 107. And if you see other organizations that are trying to push their programs, like the TOPS program by a certain lobbying organization, those are pretty much just a money grab, and I would stay far, far, far away from those. They add absolutely nothing except a big hole in your bank account. Indy125 says, I have 400 subs, not getting paid by YouTube. Okay. Can I post my drone videos on YouTube with no Part 107? So, Indy, the rules behind all this is the intent of the flight at the time of the flight. So if you're doing your videos for recreational purposes only, now as soon as you start saying I'm making videos for my YouTube and it becomes gray area, if you're getting paid for YouTube, obviously that's a big no-no. You need Part 107. In this case, I would just continue saying, hey, I'm sharing these videos with my friends and family. Don't mention the number of subs that you have and continue doing that recreationally. Official Green Diamond says, if there is not an age requirement for the trust test, is there any age requirement for the Part 107? Yes, 16 for Part 107 at the bare minimum. That's the age that you have to be to apply for the certificate. You can take the exam as early as 14 years old, but you won't be able to apply for 2 years. The reason is because the exam that you take with the FAA is valid for 2 years, so you can apply early, and then you can take the test early, but you won't be able to get the certificate until you turn 16. Whew. Next, None Your Business says, where do you guys get your polo shirts from? From the little shop over there, right around the corner from us, that does all the embroidering for us locally. So that's where we get those. They do a great job. They're awesome. It's a tiny little store, but they have a quick turnaround and they do a great job. With a remote ID module on a Neo to fly as a Cat 1, do you have to wait for the module to have captured enough satellites? Also, the RID module range is only very few meters. What's the point? So, Sandy, two things. The remote ID module, you just should be able to turn it on. There is no real way for you to know how many satellites your remote ID module has, unless you have a model that I'm not aware of. It's an on-off thing. You turn it on, you go fly, you turn it off when you land. That's really all you have to do. So no, you don't have to worry about that. And as far as range, we've tested a bunch of modules when they first came out. The ranges were all over the place, from some of them that went a few miles away to some of them that only went a couple hundred feet. So, yep, it's hit and miss. But the FAA does not have a minimum range that you need to be broadcasting. So as long as the thing is turned on, that's all you should be worrying about. Have you guys been finding the Aloft air control app to be very buggy lately? Nope, not that we've seen. What kind of bugs are you getting? Let us know. Don't hesitate to reach out to Aloft. They have a great customer service and they will be able to help you. So yeah, submit a ticket with them if you have issues. They're really responsive. LAOL, okay, says, working on my Part 107 through your course. I will be using it to make YouTube videos. Would it be a good idea to put a disclaimer in the video description that I'm a licensed or certificated pilot? It doesn't hurt, quite frankly. It might get some whiny people to go away, but who knows? But yeah, certificated pilot, that's a good way to put it. You know, Part 107 certificated pilot in the description. It doesn't hurt for sure. Shiko Matt says, can I fly DJI Inspire 3 recreationally registered and having trust certificate? Yeah. The type of drone doesn't really matter as long as you follow all the regulation, which in this case, it's over 250 grams. So it needs to be registered. And of course, you need to have trust. So yeah, you're good to go. I have a Mini 4 Pro and recently purchased the larger battery. Do I need to register or add the extra battery? So the Mini 4 Pro in itself with the small battery, James, I guess it depends if you're flying recreational or not. Well, actually it doesn't, but the Mini 4 Pro with the small battery, if flown recreationally, does not need to be registered. If you bought the larger battery, then you need to register the drone with the larger battery because it's over 250 grams, even if you fly it recreationally. So the answer would be yes. Michael says, just out of curiosity, do military drone pilots fly as an actual licensed pilot or drone pilot? Military drone pilots. Well, military has their own licensing or certification and rules. So they would be flying, they're not flying under FAA stuff. So they have, just like manned aircraft, military pilots have different certificates. Tasty Grapes with 2S says, I got the cops called on me before 8 a.m. I was operating on a dead-end road with my Air 3S taking a picture of a bridge. I was flying within my rights. Did they have the right to ask for my ID? Yes. Police officers are allowed to ask for your drone information. Yep, they can. Mario MVP says, regarding the case of the 107 pilots that flew a drone in a Green Day concert in an area of Detroit, I've heard that if the concert arena does not have a TFR, is the pilot in trouble? Well, the pilot could be in trouble because they flew over a large crowd, likely without approval. So if they didn't have approval to fly over there, if there was no, let's put it this way, if there was no TFR, there was no airspace restriction other than a TFR, and they had the proper drone or the proper waiver to fly over people, then technically there's really nothing they can get in trouble for. If they were operating like right above people's head, then it could technically be a violation of 91.113, I think it is, careless and reckless operation. No, that's, what did I say? 91? 91.113 is the airplane one. 107, I don't remember. 107.13 maybe, is the careless and reckless regulation. So it's all about whether or not they had approval to fly or the proper drone to fly over people. And if there was no TFR, or if there was one, that's the question. Brian says, I have Airware and Aloft apps. There are variances between them. Can you give the pros and cons? Yeah, there's two apps for Aloft. There is Air Aware and Air Control. Air Aware was designed, actually we work with with Aloft on that to create content for recreational pilots. Air Control is their Part 107 app. So they will basically give you the same kind of features and information. It's just that one of them is geared towards recreational pilots with a lot less information about things that you wouldn't be doing as a recreational pilot. And then Air Control is more for professionals. Do you recommend avoiding streaming live drone flying? No, not really. I mean, I don't. Unless you're going to be doing something illegal, then no. No, not really. Big says 107.23. Thank you. I knew there was a 3. I knew it's 113, 91.113 on the airplane side, but it's 107.23. I'll try to remember that. I work on a container ship. How far out to sea do I need to be before I can film without any restriction? 3 miles. 3 miles offshore is the 12 miles? 12 miles. International waters. Well, wherever international waters starts, I have 3 miles in my head because I was doing PPL content today for warning areas, but we'll get that answer in a second. What's international waters? 12 miles. Okay. Yeah, 12 miles for international waters. So 12 miles is the answer. My drone scanner detects only my external remote ID module, not my internal remote. What should I do? Okay. So I'm guessing you're maybe on an iPhone. If you're on an iPhone, the iPhone is only able to detect remote ID that is Bluetooth based and not Wi-Fi based. Most remote ID modules are Bluetooth based, which means that they're detectable from an Apple device. Wi-Fi based devices like internal remote ID inside the drone itself or standard remote ID drone, those are only detectable by a specific device that's designed just for that or with an Android phone. Apple restricts the Wi-Fi, it's called Wi-Fi scanning, I think. And the Wi-Fi, yeah, they're not allowed, apps are not allowed to use Wi-Fi scanning, which is what the app would need to do. That's at least the way that I understand it. But yes, we have not been able, using our Apple devices, to find non-module remote ID. Whew. If I fly in Bandos, FPV, is it okay flying indoors out of line of sight? Yes. Indoors, the FAA does not control. New to drone flying, how do you find the drone laws in each state or country, county or city? Great question. We actually have a free wiki page that we created on our website. Jason will put a link in the description, in the comments, where we kind of put together all of the drone laws that you can follow. It's a wiki, so you can actually submit new ones if you find new ones, and we'll keep it updated. It's community based, but yeah, that's the place where you could go find them, and help us keep it updated as well. Gilormini says, is it necessary to put my Part 107 number in the air control app? I don't think so, but I don't see a reason why you wouldn't want to do that. Perla Drone says, are you attending CES 2025? It's amazing how many companies are there to showcase all new drone technology. So we went, a portion of our team, the production team went last year to CES. I didn't go. I had something else. I don't know what I had. And then I went in 2023. I was not really all that impressed with the number of drone companies actually that were out there. All we saw was Autel. Autel was the only drone company that was out there. Was there more in 2024?
We went to NAB.
Oh, NAB. You went to NAB. You didn't go to CES this year. Oh, no, Ken. Ken went to CES. Ken left early because there was not enough drone stuff. He got tired and he left. So because we're in the middle of a move, and I know it's in early January, we're unlikely to be at CES this year. But we'll see. We'll reconsider in the future. But yeah, I have not seen. Maybe it was better in 2024. I don't know. Julia says, I use the same drone for recreational and commercial flying. Do they need 2 registration numbers? Great question. 1 for each category on the FA drone zone. So if you only have 1 drone, Julia, you can register it on either side and then put that number on there. It's a registration, which is all that matters. When you have more than 1, then all drones that are used for under Part 107 rules need to have their own registration. So if you only have 1, having only 1 registration is fine. But if you have more than 1, and each of these drones is used for non-recreational purposes under Part 107, then each of those needs to have their own registration. Angry Badgers says, you mentioned earlier that new DJI drone would be affected if a ban goes through. Would this also include service or replacement parts? No, the idea with the proposed bans is that these politicians are trying to use the power of the FCC to prevent DJI from getting FCC approval, which would mean that these drones cannot be flown in the United States, new models. So it wouldn't really affect any of the services and replacement parts in the future. Now, if there were tariffs put in place for Chinese goods in general, drones and others, then you would pay more for these parts, even though they would be available in the US, because tariffs are paid by you, the customer, not by really the company that's importing the product. If the fire department has a brush file, can we video it? Or brush fire. Can we video it if we stay on the opposite side of the road and there's no TFR in place? Yeah, just make sure that if they're using a drone, you don't interfere with it. Stay out of the way, basically. Make sure that there's no helicopters that would be in the way or anything else. So I would, if you have a drone that has like a 3X or a 5X, stay far away and then use that in order to record the footage, and then stay low. But always keep an eye on, what they're doing, because they might be using a drone and they might be going to the other side of the road to get a better view of everything. So next, Darren says, is there any explanations of SDK for the Mini 3 Pro? There will not be SDKs for non-enterprise DJI drones going forward. So no. Although, I know some of you had sent me an email a couple weeks ago because I said the Air 2S did not have SDK, but it does. Now I'm actually thinking that the Mini 3 Pro has an SDK. I'm going to make a little cheat sheet because these questions come up all the time and I cannot always remember all the details on these drones. So it's worth doing a little bit of research there. And I think the Mini 3 Pro might have an SDK, and that might be the last one that has an SDK before DJI stopped that. Maybe somebody in the comments can confirm. But yeah. Quell says, I'm studying for your Part 107 course. Awesome. I'm planning to buy my first drone. I need something good, but on low budget. Is the DJI Neo good for getting good professional images? No, I would definitely not use the DJI Neo for anything professional other than a 1 or 2 second B-roll of flying over people because because it's available and it's easy to fly over people with it. But no, I would not rely on the Neo. The Neo also has very poor wind limits, so I don't think I would use that for commercial purposes. MacMuffin says you don't need lights to fly at night. It's just recommended by the FAA. And they delegate the rules to CBO. FPV guidelines, FPV Freedom Coalition guidelines recommend lights, but do not require them. Am I correct in my thinking? Ish. So last time I talked to the FPV Freedom Coalition, they had to change their guidelines at night to include lights. Vic can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they were for a while the one that didn't require lights at night, but I think the FAA made them change it. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyways. But yes, you are correct in the sense that recreational rules, the exemption, the 44809 exemption, does not have any language on lights at night. They put it down in the CBO guidelines. So yes, that is correct. I'm trying to view South Carolina drone laws. The Cyber Monday screen keeps popping up. It's getting a little annoying. Sorry about that, Jim. You should be able to close it in the top right. I've only seen it appear once in my screen when I'm viewing stuff on our website. Oh yeah, Vic says there's a caveat, which is unless you're in a very well-lit area. Unless you're in a very well-lit area like racing. So you would have to use a light unless you're in a very well-lit area, which can make sense. Steven says, can I fly the outermost ring of the Washington, D.C. No drone area? The rules are a little confusing. Yes, go to the website. So the inner one is completely blocked. The outer one, you can go to the website. You'll see there's guidance on the FAA website on how to do that. But yes, it is possible. Whew. Did we get to the end? There's no... Okay, so James says there's no SDK for the Mavic 3, Mavic 3 Cine. Yeah, the whole Mavic 3 series, there's no SDK except for the Enterprise version. And somebody says the Mini 4 does not have an SDK, which, yes, I can agree with that. Yeah, the question is the Mini 3 Pro, whether that has an SDK. But I'm pretty sure somebody last week emailed me after I said that it didn't have an SDK, and they said that it does because they've been using it for doing mapping. So I think the Mini 3 Pro has an SDK. Like I said, I'm going to make a little cheat sheet of some of these questions that come up all the time because I get questions all the time about compatibility of of remote controls with different drones, and I just cannot remember all of them. I'm going to be straight with you guys. It's just too much information for my little brain. So I can remember regulation pretty well, but as far as which drone does what, after a while, it just becomes a big blur because we don't fly every drone every day or on a regular basis. We fly them, we test them, and then eventually we use the newest drones, so I don't get to use the older drones all that often. When's the video about the in-depth review of the Air 3S coming out? That's a question for our production team, but we recorded all of it last week, so it should be coming out this week, I think. We'll find out.
By the end of the week.
By the end of the week?
Yes, sir.
By the end of the week is the answer. There you go. So that's Friday at 11 p.m.
12 p.m.
12 p.m. 11:59. No, 12 p.m. is Saturday, so I guess that's still the end of the week. Could be Sunday. Okay, next. Julia says, do you have any recommendations for talking to people about drones who might be worried, scared of them? Yeah, that's a good question. The best thing to do is to show them what drones can do and cannot do. What I think people are worried about with drones is invasion of privacy. What I've done in the past is bring the drone really, really, really close to you and show them that in order to get any kind of detail, unless you have an enterprise drone with a crazy zoom on it, but to get any kind of detail, you need to be very close to the subject, which I think some people think that, a drone 1,000 feet away can basically zoom in on their face and get their social security number from their card that's in their pocket. That's not the case. Drones are not really good spying tools necessarily for spying on people. Not that I have any experience in doing that, but I think most people are just worried about invasion of privacy. So show them what the drones can do and show them the cool things that, drones can do. And usually, well, I shouldn't say usually, but maybe it will get people to change their mind. Maybe. Jonathan says, question about customs. Any words on them releasing the crates for the retailers in the US? I have not heard any of that. I think that's the Best Buy question. Why Best Buy still doesn't have them? Not sure. We haven't heard a whole lot of chatter on this kind of information lately. Stephen Belt says, I read the FAA rules is asking permission for that area as easy as lands. Yes, so if you need to fly in an area that requires FAA authorization, then you do need to get Lance approval, and it is pretty quick. Yes, absolutely. Now, if you want to fly over the grid number, which, each grid has a specific number, which is the maximum height at which you can fly and still get immediate approval. If you want to fly over that number, then you're going to need to go through additional paperwork with the FAA. And that's not instantaneous. How about a deep dive on the Mavic 3T? We already have that on the website. So go take a look at our website. We have a deep dive on the Mavic 3 Enterprise, which includes the thermal. James, and this is the last question for tonight. To fly your drone at night, if you have Part 107 and you've taken Trust, is there anything else you need? Okay, careful with the confusion here. Part 107 and Trust, completely different thing. Trust is not Part 107. Trust is to fly recreationally. Part 107 is to fly non-recreationally. So you can, with that being said, you can fly at night recreationally if you have taken Trust. You can. It is allowed. So, and it's also allowed in controlled airspace to get approval. But be careful. Part 107 and Trust, two different sites, completely different things. You would need to pass a test in order to be 107 certified. And by the way, I fully expect that we will be getting a lot of questions about what I would call more basic questions, which are still absolutely great. Please keep asking them as we get more people into this hobby. Black Friday just finished. Cyber Monday is today. And then we have the new year coming up with a lot of people getting drones under the Christmas tree. So if you would do me a favor, a lot of you that are in the comments are pretty advanced. You've been here. I see you every week. You hear my answers. I know a lot of you are very knowledgeable because sometimes you correct my mistakes, which is awesome. Become a mentor to other people. When you see questions in forums, go and answer those questions. Send people in the right direction. If they're recreational, send them to do Trust. Just that. Very simple. At least they get in the system, and then we can start to educate them. So then they have an understanding, oh, I need airspace approval. Oh, I need this. Oh, I need that. Then it really helps. So that's your goal for the end of this year and in the beginning of next year and all of next year. Quite frankly, it never stops. But be a mentor to somebody else. Help us there's only so many questions that I and my team can answer every single day or in these lives. But if we keep having people that are educated, that act as mentors, then we can get over misinformation. We can get over all of these things from other people in the community, but also from politicians and from lobbying organizations and all of that. The more we have this grassroots effort of people putting correct information out there, the better it gets. So that's all I have, really. It is almost 5 o'clock. We have first day after Christmas is National Pick Up a Spare Controller Day. That's right. Or climb your favorite tree day to pick up the drone. But yes, that's it. Yeah, that's all I want to say. I was reading the final comments. Love the lava lamp. Awesome, Julia. Yeah, we have, it's actually a bit more, it's pink and blue, but it's looking a little different here, I think, because of the light that we have on it. But it's technically pink and blue, our color. So thanks for watching. We will have Friday news updates. Don't forget, today is Cyber Monday. If you want to save on classes, it's one of the last few days that you can do this on the website. 30% off on one course, 40% off on 2 courses, and then 50% off on 3 or more courses. We've had so many people buy courses in the last couple days. It's been insane. So welcome to everyone. If you're one of the ones that just joined us, we do this every week, and then we are going to answer your questions. And then if you have more questions, you can leave them even after the live is over. We go through the comments and answer. And that's it. That's all I got. Thanks a lot. We will see you on Friday for news updates.